Penticton for his example of piezoelectric function at the top of a mountain. So anyways, this is right where I live in Penticton, British Columbia, just about 4.5 hours outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, on the west coast of Canada. So anyways, having said that, Eric Wilson had evaluated my father's device just before COVID, and we were well aligned to move forward. And I guess I don't have to explain the rest. In a way, COVID just sabotaged our plans, and Eric was no longer able to travel to Canada. So he's since gone on to do other things, and in fact, he's building a hotel near Abu Ghraib. And I also have very good connections with the Scan Pyramids Project people, namely Hamada Anwar, who is the director of the Scan Pyramids Project of the Giza Plateau and the Great Pyramid. So I hope to put Bob in touch together with him, toot sweet. And then, you know, the rest will be, as they say, history, I think. Well, we shall see. We do have the Minister of Energy waiting there. Actually, they don't want to wait a year, Bob, by the way. Hmm. Correct. Yeah. Mm. Yay, it's an exciting day. Excellent. Excellent. Oh,
Yes, I can
geez.
hear you. I can hear you.
Should I be on this?
Okay. Okay, can people hear me in the stream?
Yeah, you're still here.
Okay. Okay, so I can be heard now. All right, so can we just check you can be heard as well? Charles, can you
Hello,
take
how are we
over?
doing? Hello, hello, hello. Mic
Can't
test,
hear you at the
mic
moment.
test. Oh, really?
You are muted, or I've muted you. What's happened?
I can hear you, Charles, so it's something on Bob's end.
Okay. Can other people hear Charles?
Yes.
Hello, hello,
Okay.
hello.
All right, it's just me. All right.
Charles.
Okay, all right, great. Go for it.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Thank you, Carmen. That was really, really fascinating. Lovely to meet you as well. So yeah, I look forward to further developments with the Pyramid Scan project and things like that. That's really, really exciting. Right up my intersection of physics and archaeology, my very geeky things I like looking at in my pastimes. Right, so we have the Community Call 2 here today, and what we're going to do is go over what's been achieved in the last month, some of our challenges, some of our successes. We'll have time for questions at the end, or alternatively, you can put them in the chat or in the YouTube comments, and I'll try to answer as many as possible today, and if not, I'll try and answer them next time. Okay, so in October, we have assembled a software development team. We have completed our competition analysis. We've amassed 10 projects to launch with. Our branding is complete. And we've also got our social media accounts set up. Tasks which are taking a little bit more time than expected. Our legal, working on our user journeys and our specifications. We'll also be continuing to work on ensuring the protocol is resilient. And yeah, we'll continue to work on that. We're actually ahead of time when it comes to our development, and we've already created a development environment via a fork. So this month, November already, we'll be continuing with the legal stuff. We'll be dialing down our choice for where to incorporate. The user journeys development specifications will be nailed down as we look at our tech stack. And again, further look at our resiliency. The new task this month, we've got a team member actually in the call here today, who's already written a white paper for a Lena DAO before. It's very interesting. And he and I are going to collaborate on creating a white paper and a light paper so that you've got a 1 page or 2 pages to look at, and a big fancy document that'll explain everything that we're doing. We'll be setting up a process for the multi-sig signers, so that's myself, Chris and Toon, getting everybody brand new laptops, hardware wallets, going over operational security and processes so that we can ensure that everything's safe, that we're doing everything. We're beginning talks next month with safe.global, so the treasury management solution that we're going for. We're investigating any decentralized applications that we'll need to integrate, and we're going to be talking to Gnosis themselves, who are a major development community in Web3. We've also found a Web3 development house, and I can get developers in quite easily, but we are looking for smart contract developers actively, so if anyone in the community would like to fill this role, please reach out to me, or we have our volunteer form up on EVO-Labs.io, so that you can fill in the volunteer form and we'll get all that data sent to us and we can reach out to you. We'll also be beginning to design the website to incorporate all features that have been requested and will be required. Pardon me. And we will be scoping incentivization. Now, this sounds simple, but it's a can of worms, essentially. We'll be looking to brainstorm our ideas and concerns, and we'll be presenting quite a significant amount of data next time we come together. A little bit of a sneak peek for December. We'll be fleshing out a centralized version of our forum, voting process, and project onboarding. And that will be released in a private beta for January 2025. So we're going to give ourselves 6 weeks to build it all out, and then a private beta. So anybody who's contacted me already, you're in the private beta. Anybody who would like to continue sending me emails and things like that, and volunteering for the DAO, we'll get you in for the private beta. So we can all test our processes and see how they work. So this is our branding. God bless Fiverr. This cost us £500 for all of our branding. So, we're trying to do everything on a budget. This has enabled us to put the website up and our DAO volunteer form, which I'll chill again for the third time, evo-labs.io. We have secured our digital real estate. So we are live on X, Instagram, and TikTok. So if you'd like to give us a follow on those, we've got no content out yet, but we're just making sure that we have our real estate sorted. We also have an AI intern that's been designed, and that's slated to take over our social media accounts in Q1 at some point 2025. Her name will be Lorelei, or Laurel AI. So the launch projects, I mentioned that we have 10. So the 10 so far that we have, Zeus, Bagel, which is expanded in team numbers. We have the Wintex, the Cloud of Cavitator, Lion, Operation Timeline, the Linear AI, Ultra, where we're going to start looking with high-speed cameras at the Ultra experiment, and a Hutchinson replication that you're going to hear some more news on, but it is absolutely a corker. More information to come on that soon. And we'll also be looking at a project which will try to use exotic vacuum objects and potentially cavitation to increase water qualities or properties within the water, and then look at how this water affects plants when given it for feed. We've actually stopped taking applications for the time being, because our development and operational plan and our tech stack have taken priority for the time, but we have everybody's information on board, and we'll just bring you in when we can. So an update, some of the projects. So the Bagel over the last month, Toon hasn't had very much time to work on the Bagel. He's been in contact with an Australian gentleman named Chris, And Chris is an expert when it comes to the theoretical side of things. He's got a lot of ideas when it related to experiments to do with the bagel game. If you'd like to learn more about what Chris is doing, please go to Exafuse, that's exafuse.com.au, to learn more information about what Chris is doing with bagels and exotic vacuum objects. Toon's not really experiencing many challenges. They're trying to draft a roadmap together. And apparently Chris is already working on a wire winder for his fractal toroidal coils out of thicker wire. And this will enable the toroids to handle more current. There is a code base and a simulation package for multiple expansions for in-depth electromagnetic simulations. They're contacting a programmer, as it could be nice to run a simulation of an actual complete picture of electromagnetism in relation to the bagel, obviously, to determine whether it has the ability to store vector potential oscillations. And maybe it'd be good at proving experiments, and also might end up being valuable in simulating exotic vacuum objects in general. That's still to be determined, though, but that's what these guys have been talking about. In relation to Zeus, Henk has this scope has arrived, his oscilloscope has arrived. He says it looks great, but he needs to learn how to use this new computer. He needs to find out how to make the right earth connections or find the proper probes to isolate the scope from the tank. He's improved his seal, so he's using a larger, rubber, thicker ring. And he's looking at his PSU and trying to convert it into a three-phase system, and he's hoping to reduce the ripple. Now, whether this is good or bad for creating EVOs, we're looking forward to experimenting and finding out. Cool, so that's the launch projects. So as mentioned, we've got a developer team. We've got 2 front-end, 2 back-end tech lead gentlemen. We've also got a documentary filmmaker on board, who's a really nice chap. He's going to be looking at all the different projects and creating a documentary on everybody. Wants to talk to Bob, and yeah, this is going to be really interesting. We've also got a DAO designer who reached out, who has experience with creating over 200 DAOs. Now, this is an insane metric for anyone in crypto, so we've been using him heavily to help us understand our challenges with our tech stack, and really understand how we can push forward and make things as decentralized as possible. Okay, so our development timeline. So we've actually accelerated quite quickly. And this has enabled us to understand our potential capabilities and the challenges we'll be faced. They've expanded, really. We know which parts will probably work together and which parts probably won't. So we're at stage 4 currently in the development timeline. In stage 3, we were looking at a company called Factory DAO, but they didn't seem to be ready to take on a protocol such as ourselves. They weren't really ready. Our DAO designer pointed us in the direction of Charmbase. We'll go into that more in the next slide. But we're at the moment looking to replace Jira and Confluence with Charmbase, and we believe we'll be able to do that. Definitely do it in a centralized fashion. The decentralization may take a little bit of time. So in our quest for resilience, we thought to use Charmbase for the front end, the back end, onboarding, communications, forum, and governance of the DAO. And why would we do that? Well, Charmbase have already built the most difficult thing we were going to attempt. A forum and governance integrated into Web3. So conversations moving all the way through to voting to interact a treasury, make a treasury do something. Due to our outstanding developers, we've already forked their code and we're looking at challenges with their application. So we're quite far ahead with that. Our aim will be to progressively and iteratively move away from closed source and centralized solutions to create a truly resilient DAO. We weren't married to Charmbase, or we aren't married to Charmbase, but their centralized solution may work for the time being until we can work out ways of decentralizing it. The things that we'll need to do with Charmbase is Charmbase uses a SQL database on an AWS server, and basically we would need to replace that with IPFS and Arweave for short-term and long-term data storage. Our web hosting, we're actually fully decentralized already. So we're through fleek.xyz, so that's fantastic. At least we get one decentralized tick already in the first month. The onboarding through Charmbase is good, but it's not decentralized. And we would like to use something like UseKeep or Privy.ai for logins and account abstraction. Now, why do we want to do this? This will allow logins via many different login providers, such as Google, Discord, X, whatever. It will enable users, like you guys yourselves, to spin up crypto wallets if you need them with no prior experience. The users won't need to manage private keys, and it allows users to conduct account recovery. So this is something that if you're using a hardware wallet or using something that's a crypto native would use, you don't have any of these solutions. And we have not a generational gaps, but we've got to understand that we have lots of different generations that would potentially want to use our protocol, and we've got to make sure that everybody can use it in a simple fashion. Communications will be through the Charmverse forum and Slack, as Charmverse doesn't really allow direct messaging currently. But we'll aim, if we can, to implement an integration with push.org to allow the community to access censorship-resistant streaming, video conferencing, and direct messaging. The aim of this will be to protect from the Lindas of this world to ensure that we all have private communication. The forum will be centralized initially, and our private beta will be centralized and from Charmverse. But post our fork, we aim to have it decentralized and again hosted on IPFS. The government, again, via Charmverse, and if we can decentralize the back end, that'll be wonderful. And further decentralization of governance can be sought by forking Snapshot itself, because Snapshot has started charging for various voting mechanics and actually I think voting itself. So we can fork them and actually have a full end-to-end governance process that's immune from censorship, deletion, tampering, and it would be completely open source. The oracles which Charmverse are using at the moment are Stargate, which is essentially a server in someone's house facilitating the bridging. I've been in talks with some very interesting companies, and we may have to wait a few months into Q1 of 2025 for a solution to take over from Stargate, which will be 100% secure, 100% reliable, and the best thing that we could possibly need. Credentials, again, minted by soulbound tokens, non-transferable, non-exchangeable, but the thing we're going to allow people to do is burn them. So if you want to burn your own credentials, have at it, no problem. And our our code repository is on GitLab, so as decentralized as we can possibly make. So I think that's our second decentralized tick in 30 days, so that's not too bad. Once we've reached full decentralization, doing all these things, we'll be looking at creating merchandise, a store, and decentralized journals with digital as well as physical copies. I listened to Bob. Okay, so this is our competition matrix. Now, there's nobody really doing what we want to do. There are similar types of companies, similar types of people who are trying to do whatever. The closest one doing cold fusion is Magnetic Miles LLC. That's a complete scam. But the closest to doing what we're doing, but not exactly what we're doing, is unboundscience.com. Now, they will have a Notion clone similar to us, so they have the capabilities of doing project management, but all their documentation suggests that they won't be actually doing that. We think if we build our decentralized protocol the way we want it, we will have the best offering on the market. And because our niche will be essentially technology that other people have difficulty funding.
Leaving.
Yeah, exactly, Paul. So yeah, I think we might actually lead the way in this type of technology and be the first real protocol to do this with the community in mind, rather than investors or IP or anything like that, because each of these guys have got interesting stuff. Experiment.com is one I'd like to highlight. These guys are like regular scientists, shall I say, doing regular science. They are getting a hell of a lot of funding. So there is a lot of money sloshing around, and fingers crossed we can intersect that real world and crypto world and get a decent bit of funding. Okay, so we have spoken to 5 separate lawyers who specialize in legal frameworks and specifically incorporating decentralized autonomous organizations. The DAO must incorporate to protect members from liabilities, especially considering attacks coming from the SEC or the US or a US regulatory agency. But with Mr. Trump winning, we may have less of an issue with that. Fingers crossed. Each of the lawyer firms give me differing advice, but mostly focusing on their respective jurisdictions. I have asked them to criticize the other jurisdictions, so I've actually got a pretty balanced idea of which place to go for. So our options include currently the British Virgin Islands, Mauritius, Marshall Islands, Zug in Switzerland, Wyoming in the United States, and the United Arab Emirates. My current leaning is that we should incorporate the DAO in the Marshall Islands, which is I think it's an American protectorate. I think it's it's an island nation or a group of islands. And the Marshall Islands are really cool because they offer a community-focused approach. They offer members of the DAO limited liability protection while allowing us to operate in a decentralized manner without the need for board or directors. All DAO profits would be tax exempt. The person I spoke to, the lawyer I spoke to, is instrumental in writing amendments for the Marshall Islands government. And they also said that we'd be allowed to use a nominee service agreement, and this would allow full anonymity for DAO members when registering the DAO, so there wouldn't be a person or anything like that, so that protects from that attack vector. I've got one more company to talk to, and then I think fact-finding should be complete. The idea is we cross all T's and dot all I's before we get anywhere near launching, make sure that we understand regulatory hurdles and address them prior to incorporating. So I've got two firms that I really like. I'm going to ring back in the next couple of weeks and do a follow-up chat. Incorporation costs are about $12,000 to $15,000 for a DAO. So totally achievable, not really that expensive on the grand scheme of things. So yeah, that's the legal side of things. Okay, so as mentioned before, we were looking for a smart contract developer. We stopped onboarding as costs have increased, but we definitely take on a smart contract developer. Our costs at the moment are running around £500 a month, and that is pretty much solely on Jira and Confluence. However, as the forum gets ready to be tested in the next 6 weeks, we'll be bringing in projects and individuals to test certain aspects of our workflow, like how does procurement work, how does project onboarding work, how does DAO member onboarding work, all these different types of things. So if you get brought into a testing environment, please give us lots of feedback, please tell us how we're doing things right or wrong, whatever you'd prefer to do. I think if Bob is available, our next call will be on the 29th of this month, so that's only 3 weeks away. So what we'll be able to do is have another chat in 3 weeks' time and then discuss what's been going on, or you can catch the YouTube stream or whatever. If you have any questions, please email them to me. That's my email address on the screen. The old email address still works. We just got a new domain just for the website so that we could get it all set up easily. Thank you very much for your time. Please ask any questions, and my email inbox is always open for everybody. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Charles.
Thank you very, very much, Charles, and thanks for all the team. Would you like to give a shout out to the members of the team that have been working on this over the last month?
I would, but I need to protect their anonymity, I believe.
Anonymity 1, thank you very much. And
anonymity
2.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're all absolutely wonderful. Everybody, there's a couple of gentlemen in the room already, so you know who you are. Everyone's doing amazing work, working asynchronously. We're constantly picking up where somebody else has put something down. We've got team members in Australia, team members in America, team members in Europe. We're trying to work as much as we possibly can in all of our spare bits of time that we have, and the expertise is insane. Like I'm not shocked. I knew there were lots of clever people that watched you, Bob, but it's insane to actually have everyone grouped together and have a vision to move forward. So I'm eternally grateful for everybody that's volunteered so far, and I need to find a way of shipping them beer for Christmas or something similar, so that just to say thank you. So that'll be my next challenge over the next few weeks.
So my second thing is, how are you intending to cover the current costs?
I'm bootstrapping this from the ground up. So I'm paying for the £500 a month. I'm making sure that all the money's going to be there to set the DAO up. And then the incentivization, that will be all covered in the incentivization bit. But we've got multiple different pathways to choose from with incentivization. Yeah,
okay, and so a double thank you to you for Charles for helping set that up. Now, just to show my ignorance, or rather just to show, I talk about terms that I pity the people that come into my streams these days, because there's so many terms that they don't have a clue about. However, I'm going to fire one back at you. Can you lay it out for those people that aren't into this space, exactly what you mean by tech stack?
Oh, right. Yeah, sure. So with crypto, there are lots of Lego block companies. So you're able to say, okay, I need to do onboarding really, really well. So you go and find an onboarding company, and they just literally do that. They have their source, their code is open source, so you can just essentially go and grab it, or they offer a SaaS, software as a service model. So you can either use their software, or you can go and fork it. And so what we're trying to do is take a Lego block from here, Lego block from here, Lego block from here, and Lego block from here, and we build a protocol out of Lego blocks, and that will be our tech stack. So at the moment we're looking at Bleak, Push, Charmverse, Fileverse, a couple, Rweave, IPFS, and that will be our tech stack. How it will all integrate together. There'll be far more explained in our white and light paper, which should be arriving in the next 60 days. And we'll have some funky, lovely graphics as well. So if everybody likes pictures, that'll be good.
So thanks again for trying to heed the call to ensure persistence of service. How is the risk assessment and longevity of these particular stack blocks that you're putting into the tech stack?
That's something that we've been analyzing quite significantly. So there's quite a lot of protocols that say, yes, we're completely decentralized, but when you look under the hood, they've got centralized service somewhere. Their app is, you have to pay via Visa or something like that. So we've been looking at things that if they don't have 100% fit, we've been putting them to one side and going, yep, that might work in the future. What do we need to rearrange? And so this has been our whole challenge with Charmverse. Like, it looks from the outside like the perfect thing for our DAO, but when you dig into it, the data hosting isn't as good as we need it, the onboarding isn't as good as we need it, and various other things. So, yeah, what we're going to try and do is ensure that everything is decentralized as possible. If we're using a Lego block that isn't decentralized in a certain aspect, we'll try and decentralize it if that's possible, and that will be our challenge going forward over the next 6 months.
Okay, just in case the worst happens, have we considered having a block in the stack that would essentially take all these minimum viable products that are maybe in the blockchain, and there's kind of basically a dead man switch, so that anyone can hook into a block of code, and it has all the diagrams, all the procedures, all of the 3D drawings, methodologies to deliver any one of the, up to the point that some regulatory body pulls the plug, everyone can gain access to the work product of the DAO.
Absolutely, sir. So in the interest of keeping it open and transparent, what we're going to do is, after a proposal has gone through and to be voted and money to be potentially divvied up, that whole proposal is going to be bundled up and then put in a document and sent to a storage place for 200 years that nobody can take down. So that will be the same for published documents. That will be the same for results that come through. So anything like that can always be found for the next 200 years. Say if we overlook a part of our tech stack that is centralized, we didn't realize it, for example, and we lose the protocol for some reason, these are quite hypothetical, then we would still have our backup of data.
And then you did briefly mention it with a little nod to myself, the print versions. Is there an intention to have automatic publishing or regular publishing of minimum viable products to, Amazon or whatever, such that there will be hard copies out there distributed around the world?
That is written down in pencil in the journal section, because we haven't got that far yet, because there's decentralized journal people that will do that already. There are companies that will take your data, make a book out of it, but that's centralized, the centralized points of failure. So what we need to do is look when we've got time and then just understand how we do that in a decentralized fashion. But yes, that would be the aim, yes.
I wonder if there could be a mechanism by which significant sponsors at some point could automatically be sent a print of the current state of affairs, like almost like a proper journal, as I wielded when we had our first call, such that these people are essentially sentinels of the information.
But Bob, that's something I hadn't considered, but I'll write it down. That's no problem whatsoever.
Okay, that's my questions. Thank you. If anyone else has got any questions, fire away. I'm going to see if there's any questions on YouTube. We've got about 55 people watching there.
Can I jump in? Just make some
Yeah,
comments?
sure.
Please, sir.
Okay, I have managed offshore structures in Cyprus, Jersey, and also offshore Irish. And the big risk you run with any one of these offshore territories is the local managers get a lot of power and a lot of power to increase their charges. And so what I would recommend, and I mean, because you're trying to do something decentralized, to try and sort of avoid one jurisdiction. You know, if you can sort of like have maybe a couple or three, I know this is upping the costs, but you know, if something funny happens in wherever you're working, and often these offshore jurisdictions, I mean, they're very small places, they're subject to a lot of corruption. I mean, I never had to suffer sort of serious corruption, but basically the local managers have a huge amount of power and they can bump their costs. And once you're set up, you need a bit of competition to keep them in check. That's okay. Just that's one general comment. Okay. Yeah. The other thing I'd say is it'd be quite good to have some sort of, you know, incentive project. I mean, this may sound not achievable, but for example, if you could come up with some sort of over Unity iPhone free energy charger, I'm not suggesting you've got it, but I'm saying as an objective, because it's sort of a huge
I can help
thing.
with that.
Right? And you're traveling, it works, you suck it out of the vacuum, you know what I'm saying? Something that really grabs millions of people's attention, you know. I mean, I'm just giving an example, something, you know, I mean, it's because the actual amp, you know, voltage amp situation is quite low, but wow, if you could achieve that, that's a big one. Everyone will notice. You know?
It's a really good idea.
It's like a competition. I'm not suggesting we've got it. I'm just saying this is the competition. Can you do this with this technology? I'm sure you can if this is real.
I agree, if this is real. So, to go back to your first point, sir, the Zug would potentially be the backup for the Marshall Islands. And we've also been offered the BVI for, if we ever need it, to create a token or to set up another entity and things like that. The challenge with the BVI is you'd need a full suite of directors, you'd need to be open about what you're doing, whereas the Marshall Islands just lets you register a DAO with nobody involved and no management structure.
I would say Zug is not a bad idea because a lot of people, well, I mean, I know we've got US, we've got global people here, but you physically got to get there. You know, you don't want to have your offshore where it's so bloody impossible to get there that you just never have face-to-face contact with your managers. You know, I mean, Zug, you can just get on a plane, I don't know what quickest way to get Zug, Basel, I don't know where you fly, but it's pretty close. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. It's a really interesting idea. I think one of the things that drew me to the BVI guys is they were all English, all based in common law, you know, things like that.
No, BVI has absolutely got it all set up. I absolutely agree. Good target, but I'm just saying, generally, that is your risk. You know, these local managers, it's an easy money machine. You know, once you set, I've done it. I've got a Russian, I think, incorporated Russian company, used a Cyprus holding company, and then the Cyprus managers had a field day because, like, once we got big, you know, they were just sucking the money so easily, you know, because we had no choice.
Right. Okay, and our treasurer will be very transparent to them, so they'll be able to see exactly what's going on. So okay, right, understood, sir, understood. One thing I will point out on that, the Marshall Islands, in what you're saying, do have a tiered thing. So if we have 30k in our treasury, the fees are capped at a certain amount. If we have, I can't remember the level, but I'd say 100k in the treasury, fees go up. If we have 500,000 or something like that in the treasury, fees again go up. So there is already that type of.
No, that's great, but just get some competition there.
Will do.
Stops the crap.
Will do, sir. Very important. Thank you very much. Very good advice. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rupert. Really great contribution. There's a question by Leon. I don't know if he wants to place it himself, but he says, what blockchain ledger will the DAO be set up on? That was in the chat. You can put your questions in the chat if you wish.
Okay, so a month ago we were looking at Gnosis. We're still looking at Gnosis for having the treasury on. The one thing that is not seen by most crypto guys at the moment is chain abstraction, which is getting launched in about 3 months by about 10 different protocols. So what chain you're on is not going to matter in a few short months. So while we're going to be mostly on Gnosis, maybe interacting on Ethereum with a snapshot, it's not going to matter anymore. Like chains aren't going to matter. It's just as long as the app works and the token moves or the thing moves where you need it to, you don't really need to know what's on the back end. And that's where we're going to go with crypto in the next couple of years, because nobody wants to know like bridging from, say, scroll to base to something else. You know what I mean? Like, how do you know which bridges to use and all this type of stuff? So all that's going to get much easier. So as far as I'm concerned, Gnosis for the treasury, Ethereum for most of the stuff, and then there'll be other chains that we'll be using, and it'll just be all over the place, but it won't matter.
Perfect. So if anyone else wants to ask a question, fire
Very
away.
simple one. Can I set up a proper name for the water project with you over the next week or two, please? I
Yes.
feel a bit left out without being Poseidon or whatever.
Poseidon's a great name, so
Poseidon
I think.
sounds like a sinking ship to me.
Okay, well, we'll do something like Trident or something or maybe not Trident. That's a nuclear
I'll
weapons
make a
program.
few suggestions and we'll see. Something obscure.
H2 EVO. That's a very good one, Sterling. Well done. Thank you very much. I like
Wow,
that.
H2 EVO.
EVO. That's getting written down. Well done, Sterling. That's an extra beer in your monthly parcel. Right. Yes, definitely. We can definitely do that, Paul, within the next week or so, and we'll sit down and have a little chat about that and where we'd like to take it. And I'll introduce you to the other R&D guys who are doing all the water experiments as well. We can have a little chit chat. Okay. Awesome.
Okay. Anyone else?
Nice.
Charlie, see you here. I have a question about patents. I know Bob Greener's kind of getting patents, and since it's a global effort, you'd have to get multiple patents around the world or certain locations. I'm curious, Charles' thoughts on getting patents for ideas, because if it's all the ideas are made public, it's only a matter of time before other people start patenting the ideas, and then that'll start discouraging inventors.
Sure. So from what I led to believe, most of the stuff related to EVOs is natural. So patenting natural processes is actually ridiculously difficult. There are a couple of companies who specialize in IP for blockchain companies. And so if this is something that the inventor would like to do right at the start, we'll include this on the application form. And they would like to own the IP, or at least license out the IP for everybody to use and make it all open source and things like that, but still apply for a patent, then I don't see where that would be a problem. Bob has discussed before applying for patents just so that we could apply for the patents and start the conversation rolling. So it's not something I've spent a lot of time with. I'll be completely honest, Charlie, but it's something I've looked at with other protocols, and I think when you're going to be one of the guinea pigs, I'm sorry to say, sir, when we're doing the onboarding process. So we will go through all of that and then look at all the questions, concerns, and we will work our way through it and make sure that any considerations are put in place.
Just to clarify from my point of view, any patents that are applied for, from my point of view, are first to buy as 1 year of potential invention, but they are there in order to ensure that those subjects cannot be patented by a third party, but they will go into the open pool. That's from my point of view. So from my point of view, they're ideas that I'm freely giving to the open community.
Isn't that what Bendel is doing?
Bendel claims that that's what he's doing. He wasn't going to open anything, as far as I was aware, until I had a conversation with him, and I said I wouldn't get involved with this project unless he opened up the IP. The actual patent he has applied for, I'm not sure it's going to be successful, but the organisation, the part of it might be, and he might have to withdraw a bunch of claims, but we will see how that plays out. The reality is he's opened the basic technology up by putting that out there before it was even applied for in a patent. But it's the innovations that he has in the current version And also, moving forward, he has an agreement that he's trying to reach with an existing patent that's got about 10 years to run, that actually supports his current findings, but gives him automatic protection, and it's already a patented thing. So, you know, the technologies are complementary.
Want to make a comment? I think I've said this before. It'd be a really good idea to have your own journal for EVO Labs, because what that does from a patenting point of view is automatically stops actually anything in that journal being patented. You understand? Whatever is public domain, what's already been published cannot be patented. So it gives you the opportunity to control the sort of zones that you are prepared to allow to be commercially developed, and ones you think should be community activity. So what I'm saying is, you bang stuff out as quickly as possible in areas which you think is community know-how, and okay, you don't have to be so swift if you feel that you will aid in particular development, by allowing whatever people have got their own secret know-how. But you see what I'm saying? It gives you then a control of the process.
I think Charles will agree with me that is the intention of the automatic publishing that we're intending to do. Am I right in saying that, Charles?
It is. I hadn't wanted to do it automatically, but that is something that we could definitely get done automatically. The bundling up and storing on Arweave I was going to do automatically, but yeah, if you want to send it to a journal to publish, that's literally
No, I'm saying you are the journal.
Yes.
Like being the journal.
As in the EVO Labs journal, sir. Sorry, I should have been...
journal. It became public. It's in EVO Labs, therefore you can't patent it.
Yep. So Nick Knox
gives you negative control.
Nick Knox got a question on YouTube, and he's saying you are planning on documenting advanced energetics research and open sourcing that to anyone. How does a sovereign nation differentiate your project from one that directly supports nefarious people? So here's the thing. EVO Labs is set up to make minimum viable products of things that are already in the open space. So these technologies like the water systems and the clad-off generator. The clad-off generator patent expired a long time ago. The thing is, no one's been able to make a functioning version of it other than the ones that are currently being commercially sold in Russia. And you can't just go and buy someone's IP and make a clone of it. So the idea is we're clean rooming it from the patent and making parametric models that are part of the minimum viable product release. From that point onwards, as far as I'm concerned, EVO Labs and anyone else can work from that product on and create innovations that may or may not be patentable. There might be design patents that people can make. Here's one of these minimum viable products, but it looks nicer than the next guy's, or we've developed some technology that makes it quieter when it's running, or just slightly more efficient because we've got a little bit of intellectual know-how. The idea is to break the back of all of these patents sitting out there that no one has the wherewithal to be able to get them into a functional state. So it's a case of you find a contract manufacturer, you send them the drawings, and you say, I want 3 of these for my farmhouse, and they go and make them and they work. So that's the point. But then in the process, the people involved with the EVO Labs will gain some knowledge and know-how that can take it from the initial minimum viable product. That's natural, and anyone involved in the process and watching it develop.
Yep, copy our homework and we'll help you to do it.
Yeah.
Well, we have lots for you to see here, Bob, in that regard.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, my dad has an HHO device that you'll find very interesting. We have a solid state RLC circuit, very interesting over Unity by itself. Been tested by Square D. Opened the box, no external power source found. In black and white, 1992, I think.
Wonderful.
So it's time. It's very time. The library here that I have is very interesting. I think meeting with Jean Manning in her 11th hour.
Yeah. It's going to be a very important time. Yes.
Yes, it is. And I'm just very excited and honored to have you come and join me here.
It's a real honor for me, to be honest. So And to fill you in also that I'm going to be going to Rome and there's another technology as well. So I think we're going to have a whole wall of technology to try and change the trajectory of humanity here. And I just want to end this debate. Like, people have various views about what I put out with my meeting with Russ George. Because they're saying, oh, like exactly the comments Russ George was making is that he basically solved the carbon problem that they say is such a major problem for global warming, and they don't want it solved. They want the problem. They don't want any solutions because they won't be able to tax, they won't be able to restrict. And then you even get people that say, well, you're just going to give an excuse for the carbon industry to keep going. And it's like, well, either the carbon dioxide is a problem or it isn't. Make up your mind.
Touché.
So like we need to have a full spectrum dominance on the arguments around these kind of like ways to try and tax and suppress the dynamism and the happiness of planet Earth and its inhabitants.
No zombie apocalypse.
No zombie apocalypse, please. All right, has anyone got any questions? Diadan, I'm sure you've got some comments.
Not this time. I was just listening in and taking notes and absorbing it. Just
I'm dominating. Can I say something?
Sure.
You do seem to have like a fundamental conflict of interest, within the organization between open publication, and it's one big community, and proprietary knowledge that becomes patents and becomes commercializable, investable, and it's a really difficult thing to work out that balance. I'm just saying, got to work it out in advance because, you don't want to walk into a dispute, without having a clear protocol about what goes on. I mean, I'm not recommending any particular direction. It's your organization, you started it. But I'm just saying, really think about that before you get into a money situation, because it's going to be nasty. Like if you get something big, you've got to have a clear idea. What was the guidelines of the organization? Is it all about open knowledge, or is it about opportunity for entrepreneurs to create something? Are they going to make money out of it? Are they not going to make money out of it? I mean, you've got to have a constitution. I think I've talked about this before. You've really got to have a clear set of guidelines what this is all about.
I completely agree, sir. The constitution will be started on, I think I've slated it in for end of December, January, but I have a 2-year-old, so whether I get actually time at the end of December.
No pressure. I understand. You've done all this stuff. I understand.
From my point, Rupert, the MFMP continues. We are supporting in any which way we can by pushing people this way, but we're going to work with researchers to evaluate their technology and see if they're viable. Candidates will be where the patent has expired, so the actual fundamental base technology already exists. So there's none of this debate about whether you're breaking anyone's patent. The patent has already gone, right? The idea is to get a patent to a point where anyone can, not just skilled in the art, they're skilled in the download button and the upload button to the contract manufacturer. That's the skills that they need to have, and we want to make that easy. From my point of view, I don't care personally what happens once the minimum viable product has been put into the public record and is able for anyone to use, and it delivers on its promise, and that's basically it. Then people, individuals can take that minimum viable product and do what they like with it independently. The organization itself can move forward with it. But it's to get people over that hurdle and those mental barriers. One, it's not possible. Two, even if it is possible, I can't summon the skill set in order to make this. You want to basically have a button to download a number of PCBs already made by PCBWay, or there might be someone in the community that wants to go ahead and make 100 of them and then make a little margin because they've already bought 100 of them, if you know what I mean. And these kind of things work with things like the Raspberry Pi and people that work in the Raspberry Pi ecosystem. the system is ostensibly open in many respects, but there's a way that a lot of different people can make a good living from the overall product, and then some people make some actual technologies by using this base open source material, and so that's the way I envisage it. I've said, like, if it's not delivering the open minimum viable products, then I'm not interested in putting my support behind it. So that's where I stand.
I mean,
I share your sentiment.
realistically, Bob, as soon as something really interesting comes up that's profitable, it's going to get made in China, isn't it? Rather quickly.
Well, maybe there'll be too much tariffs for that thing to be imported into major markets.
Yes. Okay.
So one of the things Mr. Forbes has mentioned a few times is the fact that certain people have created devices, they've gone shop them around, literally put the devices in front of people, showed them that they do X, Y, or Z, and nobody believes them anyway. So, like, I'm sort of thinking that if we may not get people grabbing devices and making them until we do it ourselves a few times.
You're going to have to make it yourself and show it off, not give it to someone else to make.
Yeah.
You're not going to invest anything if they don't believe.
The whole point is to make minimum viable products. We have to at least make one in order to test and see that it's viable. So that goes without saying. That's the whole point of the DAO, as far as I'm concerned. And then once you know it's viable, people can choose to download the file and have it contract made, or they can choose to have someone that is saying, I can make this for you, and it reaches the minimum viable claims of the product that is minimally viable, you know? And if people don't want a cavitation heat generator that produces 2, 3, 4, up to 11 times the heat output in thermal kilowatts as electrical input, or they don't want a magnetic motor that can charge a solar inverter more than the power that it's taking out of the batteries that it's charging, they can choose not to do that. But we're taking it out of the hands of people that get in the way of a technology going from something that's proven by a scientist and work, and in some jurisdiction is actually being made and sold, to being something that people can take ownership of their own destiny.
On a more mundane note, remember in the UK, for example, gadgets have to pass safety protocols. And there's a sort of bottleneck there where it would be possible to interfere with the development of them if they were considered not to be safe for some obscure reason coming from the administration. Do you think we have any remedy for that kind of nonsense?
There's no issue as far as I can see. Anyone can make anything they like to blow themselves up.
Right. As long as you don't sell it.
Yeah, as long as they don't sell it. So here we go. We're empowering people to solve their own problems, to become resilient in the way that I envisage this whole project should be resilient. And
so
after
they don't need a kite mark for safety. We can just give.
Well, a lot of these things are self-certification anyway. And you know, before I was willing to even support something like this, I've spent the last 4.5 years trying to understand strange radiation, which is a problem that exists for any welder, anyone with a fast-moving, rotating metal thing. And you know, there's so many ways you can get exposed to strange radiation in current work environments. So we're going to be, in the process of doing this, we're going to be solving a problem that already exists and is not addressed.
Is there any epidemiology of welders? Just out of curiosity.
Sorry, what?
I'm saying, is there any epidemiological data?
There is epidemiological data on cancer in welders, but they think it's all because of UV exposure. They can't consider it because no one accepts it. There is also this weird association with cancers and switchgear operators, people who are electricians, but they don't know why that is, because an electrician shouldn't be exposed to UV ordinarily, but they are exposed to switches that are switching because they're working in switchgear.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Okay, so if no one's got anything else to say,
we'll make sure that Bob, you're muted, sir.
I was only talking to myself. I was going to look at the YouTube, see if there's any questions there.
All right,
you fill in for me whilst I do that, Charles, please.
Well, yeah, I think it's very important to think of all this stuff beforehand and to have discussions about it right now, and to consider how we take things to market, how other people will take it to market, how we sell things, how we don't sell things, how we give them away. But yeah, I think we're all on the same page. Like, these devices need to become an MVP. I don't really care who produces them. Like, if Boeing want to come in and produce 10,000 like Lena devices that actually work to lower power costs, fine, I'll buy one. I'm not really that bothered. I just want someone to do it. I just want someone to lower the power costs. And I think if we can get to that stage, great. Or you know, you can transmute gold out of nothing, or you know, whatever any of these inventions do. So yeah, it doesn't matter who does it. It doesn't matter who makes the money. As far as I'm concerned, we just have to focus on relentlessly trying to get the information out there, so someone will take notice and someone will do something magical.
Thank you. Yes, Gordon Docherty made the point that a hydrosonic pump, Grieg's hydrosonic pump, is a case in point. He tried to sell it as an over Unity device, but none sold in the 2 years that he was doing that, and he changed it to 100% efficiency and sold 200,000 units in weeks.
My dad did that too. Like, just tried to say it's 99% efficient.
So as part of the application process for any projects, Toon will be working through the language used for the application to make sure that it's mainstream media friendly, and we will all know what's going on. But as far as the scientist who reads this, they'll be going, oh, right, yeah, we can understand that. That'll probably work. So, yeah, we won't be skullduggerous about it, and there will be no skullduggery, but at the same time, we will play to whatever themes and content that will be like to be shown. So that's a theory.
I think it's worth remembering that Pons and Fleischmann talked about, or weren't talked about, they had the idea of cold fusion thrust upon them. And of course, the word fusion can be tested against the current scientific dogma about what fusion is and found wanting, which was the basis of their expulsion and all the bad things that followed. I think when we use a term for whatever we do, can we just be careful to avoid obvious pitfalls like that? Cold fusion or any kind of fusion is not something we should advertise, I feel.
The King recently spoke about catalytic fusion, the King of England.
Yeah, what was he talking about? Hot fusion?
No.
And the King of England said that because he'd been briefed by...
Don't know.
You've been having a little word, have you?
No, obviously not, mate.
You've got connections, though, haven't you?
No. But I'll be able to get some documentation to understand exactly where he got the information from, put it that way.
Anyway, that guy could definitely do with a briefing, for sure, because he's not been well briefed up to now. Why don't we go and win the bloody...
My dad wrote him a letter. My dad wrote King Charles a letter. He wrote the Pope. He wrote King Charles. I have it in black and white. He's been informed.
Okay.
But
Yes,
just,
sir.
guys, can I say something? Yeah, I mean, in principle, there are potential catalysts for this process, this whatever you want to call it, cold fusion, whatever you want to call it. Okay, they may not work, but I'm just saying, once, even, and this is Bob's conceptual work, this is all about toroids and little magnets and stuff like that. You can make molecules like that. Maybe there'll be catalysts. That's what I want to say. Looking at it at the moment. All right.
Yeah, like perovskite.
Could do the job.
Perovskite has a toroidal moment.
Yeah. Porphyrins. I want to say porphyrins.
Yeah.
All right. Porphyrin rings. In your blood. All right. That's a little high circling set of electrons. All right. With an ion in the middle, which is magnetic. All right.
Yeah.
Worth a try. Everyone should try it. I'm going to try it.
Well, I'm sure that our physiological porphyrins do something. I think we produce a whole lot of toroidal moments. Some of them coming out of our fingers, according to Bob.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I'm just saying it could well be.
I've actually been trying this as well, Bob. Just putting the fingers round in a circle just to see what happens. Yeah. Nothing much so far, but I'll keep trying.
I love the. We're getting away from the project. Is anyone else got anything to talk about EVO Labs just now before we have a general closeout?
I'll mention one thing about the patent conversation. I'm no patent lawyer, but it's worth mentioning that, as I understand, in the U.S., there are laws that give the U.S. Department of Defense the ability to scoop up patents that are that are gained by individuals that they deem to be a threat to national security. But if you start talking about collusion between certain companies and certain agencies, then there's certainly a risk of just scooping up and erasing, based on patent law, inventions that would be profitable to said companies. So that's something that is probably worth discussing with lawyers, and perhaps if patents are to be applied for, may need to be outside of the jurisdiction of the United States first.
Yeah, so I already understood this, so that's why the focus of the DAO is on a pre-existing expired patents. It's very difficult for them to close down and hide a patent that's already expired and has been in the public record for decades. And then secondly, you can do a provisional patent. It costs something like £25 in the UK, and the key thing is that at least 50% of the device has to be developed in the US, and then they can invoke these laws and prevent anyone in a country that trades in dollars from being able to use patents. So the idea is you patent somewhere outside of the US as a provisional patent, and it may not be that you actually do anything with that patent. You're just putting the provisional patent in to block it from being appropriated by a third party down the line. But the key point here is that we're going to be working on technology that's already been patented and it's expired.
Maybe I could give a little plug for that little Tesla motor that we have.
Go on then.
So, yeah, I'm also not super prepared here for that. I'm just moving back into my space after being away for the whole summer. So anyways, today was the day I actually got back into my office here. So pardon my a little bit disorganization, but I've been working on a paper and research on some people might have seen this little motor on the Pawn Stars in the US. It is a prototype that we believe is a lost prototype of Nikola Tesla, corresponding to his very first patent on a rotating magnetic field and an induction motor. So it corresponds to his very first patent, 382279, which replaced his first altogether patent, 382968, where they asked him to deconstruct it. So this is the induction motor part of it. It corresponds to figure 14 of that patent. And we say this is the first prototype because others are recognized as his first prototype. Namely, in the British Museum, Professor Ayrton was given one by Tesla. And we say that this is actually the first one. And I'm not the first person to say this. I'm actually furthering the research of none other than Jim and Ken Coram, which anybody in this field should know those names. I don't need to say who they are. They've been prolific researchers of Nikola Tesla and his wireless technology. They actually just demonstrated wireless broadcasting of wireless electricity with their Zenek wave technology in Texas, but they had since lost their company in a reverse takeover as soon as they demonstrated broadcasting without wires. So,
resilience.
yeah, so they are in litigation, and but their original research done was by these gentlemen, so giants in the field of Tesla, who believed that this was Nikola Tesla's very first prototype that was given to Professor Anthony at Cornell. This actually was found at Cornell University. So it was found in the right place. It has the right provenance. We can't find a picture with it, but we did find correspondence in the Belgrade Museum that is further evidence that Professor Anthony asked Nikola Tesla to borrow this motor after his patent would have been issued on May 1st, 1888, May 14th, pardon me. So having said that, Bill Wysock, who was a Tesla coil builder and taught many of the Tesla coil builders that we have around today that are very good, Cameron Prince, Jeff Parisi, Jeff Bahari. Jeff Bahari, I must give a little bit of credit to, not a little bit, a lot. He has put together a phenomenal amount of research furthering the work of his dear friends. This is the catalog of research that we have backing up the work. And this is the actual letter that was given, was found in the Belgrade Museum, that was written, that is where Professor Anthony asks for this motor. So we're very lucky to have something of this stature, that we can reignite the passion that people should understand Tesla had for the people and what he wanted to do in his lifetime. And most people don't understand who Tesla was. And I believe that if we shed this motor in the right light and use it as part of our beacon amongst this new project that we're embarking on, I'd like to see this become part of that somehow. And I'd like Bob to regurgitate this information to the world, because I'm not qualified. I've been a steward, but I feel that it needs to be, the points need to be driven home by somebody like Bob. And this is the right motor to do that, because it relaunches the story of why everyone's doing what they're doing. So anyways, this was the original eBay. It was mislabeled as a rotary induction coil. And the thing is that Bill Wysock collected those. So he happened to come across this eBay listing, and he purchased this motor. And then none other than Jim Hardesty went and picked it up. So all of those guys did their early research. And then I happened to be in Las Vegas on a day that Bill Wysock took this to the Pawn Stars. And it was, again, divine intervention that I became the steward of this motor, as well as my dad's. I've kept the whole archive of this together for over 25 years. And I've been part of this. I posted on Facebook the other day, as I was looking through some photo albums downstairs in preparation for Bob's visit. I posted a photo of myself with none other than Tom Vallone, Adam Tremblay, Stanley Meyer, myself, Gene Manning, Jeff Hayes, Dale Pond, Andrew Mykrowski. I didn't have to even, I remembered everyone's name. I didn't even have to look. That's how much I've stayed with my finger on the pulse of all of this. And it's my only hope that I can help in my own 11th hour, because I think lifetimes are short. It doesn't matter if you're 30, 40, 50, 60. If you get this type of, if you're bitten by this, it doesn't let you go. And I saw that happen to my dad. And we're in a very small area of British Columbia that isn't a tech town. My dad and mom didn't have a lot of resources at the time. And so, I've been very fortunate to be able to keep my dad's stuff together and to update the electronics, and to have really qualified people come recently, in the recent past. So I have been able to confirm myself that my father was no charlatan, and we know what he has accomplished. And it's just furthering all of the information. He said, I didn't invent anything. The Egyptians had it. The first thing he did was show the Dendera light bulbs, or whatever they are, but that we had other technology that was tapping a universal source. And my dad was very in tune, my mom as well. And so I'm very grateful to the background that I've had from them. I'm grateful to my business partner, Ray Forche, for having the foresight to purchase this motor from Bill Wysock. And I hope in his lifetime to show him that it was not for nothing, and that we will use this in a wise way to help broaden the vision of Nikola Tesla and all alternate energy inventors, whatever we want to call it, over unity, free energy, tapping the 0 point. Again, you come up with so many different terms, people get confused, but it really is just understanding that this technology was suppressed for all the reasons we understand, and it's time now. We
Yeah.
no longer have the luxury
Yeah.
of sitting by and knowing that it's there and doing nothing about it. The lag effect we have to overcome is huge. Okay, if we implemented these en masse yesterday.
Oh, it's going to be 20, 30, 40, 50 years, even mass production. So, and if you've got people fighting it out and people suppressing it, it needs to be everywhere all at once. And Carmen, thank you for that. I can really feel your passion. I'm sure everyone watching can feel your passion and your determination now. I always assume I'm going to die in the next minute. And you know, when COVID struck, for instance, that nonsense that occurred around the world, I was just thinking, oh my God, when I actually had COVID in March to April, just across the change of the month, 2020, I thought, I can't believe I haven't been able to get everything out of my head. I felt so ashamed at myself that I wasn't able to share, because it's just, if you do not get that ego out, what have you bothered learning it for? And you've got these things here, you have this opportunity, there are a series of opportunities, and I want this ridiculous competition between these open technologies pushing into commercial technologies that is just going to flood the market. It's going to be literally unstoppable. And so I already have a pretty good idea of how your father's technology worked. We can discuss that when we're there. And I understand you're going to give me one of the pickups to take away and investigate and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you. And your vision for that machine was to maybe give it some presence, build it up, and then maybe auction it, and then use that money to help move the field forward. Is that right? Is that my summary correct?
Redonate. We're going to redonate back to this whole vision.
Banging. Absolutely
so let's
fantastic,
make it happen.
Carl.
Yeah, that's my gift to the world, this community, you, Bob, because you deserve it.
Oh, come on. It's everyone. I was able to do because it was a community effort.
You forged this path for all of us now.
Well, I have to say there's other people in this chat that played a significant contribution in making that happen as well.
I understand that, and I respectfully embrace all of them for their contributions. As I understand, so many have in my father's time as well, and in Tesla's time. There are many that have contributed to AC, that more Russians, Dobrolovsky, and it would have come out possibly. I've seen different arguments. Who's the better inventor, Tesla or Edison? It's two different ball games. We still have to respect Tesla for what he contributed, and I believe if you start to read the other plug I have to give, because there's lots of them. I have my library here is very interesting. I'm sure you'll find. But this is another really good book. Okay, it's by Ernst Vandenberg, and it's called The Battle for Wardenclyffe. And you'll understand a little bit more of what happened between Tesla and JP Morgan if you read these sad stories, these very sad letters that Tesla and JP Morgan wrote to each other, and JP Morgan's secretary wrote back to Tesla and broke his spirit. He broke his spirit.
Yeah.
And Ernst Vandenberg, he's also doing this, tried to do this on a large scale.
Yeah.
And I believe that, his contribution with this book is also very important because he uncovered the story in letters between JP Morgan and Tesla at the time, and you'll see.
Well, we can't make this a one-man fights the world thing. It has to be a massive wall of people moving forward, and with the confidence behind them of various technologies having been proven. So, those documents are going to be fantastic and inspirational.
Just a couple more, because
Go on, then.
You guys love it.
Why
Anyways,
not?
of course, Gene Manning, The Coming Energy Revolution. Gene Manning wrote, "To my dear friend Bill, my mom was gone at this point. I would not have begun this project if I hadn't met you and Ilona. Thank you. As always, your buddy Gene." Okay, she cut her teeth in my parents' basement. That's why she became a technical writer in this field. I've sat with her, as I said earlier, at the Swiss Association for Free Energy 35 years ago, trying to do this, trying to share over Unity hardware. And then, of course,
I think that's one of the
who
biggest. Yeah.
Moray King, who you...
I'll raise your request.
Okay. Carmen, what does it say?
Yeah,
Carmen,
yeah, there you go.
May you build on your dad's contribution and create a better world. His picture was in there. Oh, there we go. There's us.
Guys, you're a publishing house.
Yeah.
This is at a Tesla Tech conference.
Yeah.
At Steve Ellswick's Tesla Tech conference. Here
Yeah.
he is signing the book. Okay, just a couple more.
Go on then.
Alfred Hilscher, Energy for the Third Millennium. Okay, this one's to Jerry, my dad's business partner. He says, never forgotten. Chip geniuses or something. Auf Wiedersehen. Till we see each other again. And Gottfried Hilscher is right here. And he wrote the book also, Energy in Abundance, Energie im Überfluss. That's my dad and him in the basement. Everyone knows this one maybe in this field, David Hatcher Childress.
Yeah.
From, okay, so my dad's in this one. Penticton, BC.
Carmen,
Really,
Breakthrough Power.
Just amazing.
Breakthrough Power, my bird ate it, sorry.
That's
I
okay.
had a African gray parrot. They're not bird brains. They are so smart. Anyways, to my dear Carmen, you and your family are integral to my journey. Much love, Jean. So I look forward to us all getting together, breaking through, not the book, but more power. And being able to share with you so much here on my shelves upstairs and so much more downstairs.
I'm so looking forward to documenting many of these things to share with the community. And really, I think I'm minded of this interview that John Hutchison had with Ken Shoulders, and Ken Shoulders was expressing his loneliness as someone that had so many ideas in his head and the potentialities of what those ideas could deliver, and he had no one to speak to. Well, we have this wonderful thing called the internet. We're all in different jurisdictions. There's people here from Australia all the way through to Chile right now, on either watching on YouTube or and so we're at this unique time where, if nothing else, we need to lift up the standard of life of other people that aren't as fortunate as the places that you and I were born into. And so it's not necessarily just about the environment. And as one person said, I think Europe in mass only produces 8% of the world's CO2. If Europe was to immediately cease to exist, it's not going to make a jot of difference to the CO2. So that for that particular argument, if you subscribe to that argument. But what we can do is we can help them change the way that they are trying to raise their standard of living, and by giving that to them, that's a much bigger gift than taxing ourselves to the hilt to give them money, because they're probably just going to spend it on more hydrocarbons. Frankly, it's going to be a self-defeating gift. So I think either that or we die trying.
That's correct.
Thank you very much for sharing those books, those the excitement around the Tesla.
The tip of the proverbial pyramid.
Yeah, the tip of the proverbial pyramid. So thank you. I think that's probably nice to close out on that. If people want to say anything, do they want to have a personal message for Carmen right now? Anyone?
There's a guy online that says, Carmen, you make him proud to be a Canadian. So well done with that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, you
make be a human.
You make me proud to be a human.
Yeah. I'm proud to be a human.
I love humans, and I want to see more of them. I want to see more little babies.
Wow. Well, I've got one downstairs too. He's a sweetie pie, yeah.
Oh, lovely.
I'll give a plug for Riker. He's not my blood, but I tell you, he's a gem. So yes, you're
Wonderful.
right. We're doing it for all of the little babies. My dad always said that anyways. I'm not doing it. We already have a millionaire's family like you. We're doing it for the world, for the people. And I think as Jean wrote these books and sat in our living room and I met people like Christopher Dunn. I actually contacted Christopher Dunn via David Hatcher Childress in 2013, in a moment where I was studying the work of Edward Leeds Skelton and it was coming out more then. So I realized that after I talked to David, he said, well, you should discuss this with Christopher Dunn, and he's working on Ed Leeds Skelton's device. And so I contacted Chris, and Chris was on his way to Egypt, and since 2013 I consider him one of my mentors, and he is really, I don't have to say it. He's just the pioneer of all of this, and I'm very honored to have been able to call him my friend all these years. And I'd like to see his work also vindicated by you, Bob, and furthered or whatever. He's, a proponent of anybody building on his efforts and his work. And I believe that all credit gets due to everyone in its due course. It all settles out where it needs to. Nobody needs to have an ego about any of this. It's just let the information come out.
Yeah, it'll iterate to the truth. I know I've been wrong so many times that it's almost criminal. But I've been helped along by a lot of people who've pointed out my errors, and hopefully I'm less wrong than I was yesterday.
Likewise, I'm certain.
Okay, guys, I want to wrap this call up. Thank you very much, Carmen. Thank you very much, Charles. Do you want to say the last words there, please, Charles?
Thank you, community. You're all amazing. You're all wonderful. It's amazing what we're doing, pulling together and working together. So I'm looking forward to 6-7 months of continued development to build something that we're truly all going to be proud of. So thank you, everybody. And if you want to contact me, please do. Thank you, Bob.
Likewise.
Awesome.
CarmenMagnetra@gmail.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. See you later, guys. Thank you very much.
Bye now.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.